It was built as a hackathon for social justice, but it's led to a lot of controversy among sex workers across the world. The event was called #Hack Trafficking for Good, and it was held last weekend in Boston. Hosted by the Attorney General, Mayor Walsh, and others, the goal was to rein in online sex trafficking by gathering a group of computer experts to come up with new programs and high-tech tools which could help law enforcement better monitor these websites. The problem? Many sex workers say the whole idea was not only patronizing, but that it's making them more vulnerable to abuse. Joining me to talk more about this are Audrey Morrissey. Audrey is a former sex worker, now with the organization My Life, My Choice, who was involved in this past weekend's hackathon. It's good to see you again, Audrey. And Amber Ying, who's with the organization Sex Workers Outreach Project Boston. Good to see you as well. So what was the game plan exactly? What was the goal here, and how was it going to be achieved?
The goal was to reduce the demand, because we know that myself, being in my day, there was no such thing as the internet. We didn't have the internet, so we were on the street.
And you could check out the guy.
We could check out, right, and you could say, and I could, right, so I could do all those things. And I'm not saying horrific things didn't happen, because girls and women were murdered. Mm-hmm. But for myself, I think of the times when a child was seen, and someone told their mother, and their mother came and got that child off the street or got that child out of the strip club. My major concern is that there are children in these hotel rooms, that pimps are putting children in these hotel rooms, and these guys are buying sex from children, and it's making it real difficult for parents to locate their children.
So in part, though, we're replacing your eyes, which you could use in days gone by, with the eyes of law enforcement and other people through essentially monitoring as much of this online stuff as is possible. What's wrong with that? I mean, what's the problem?
There's two big things. First of all, it is putting power in law enforcement, the police, and
you don't trust them?
Speaking with, well, sex workers don't trust them, but the police are one of the populations they fear the most, because police harass sex workers. They try to engage in sexual acts with them and trying to and really the police are not known to help sex workers. The other thing is that there is what SWAP has been saying, is like there's actually no reason why sex workers can't step up and help monitor these buyers and the industry to help find these these children, these young girls.
But how do they monitor this online stuff? And we saw everybody remembers the Craigslist killer. Mm-hmm. It is a different world. I mean, you guys know this far better than I. Mm-hmm. But what Audrey was just describing a minute ago, don't you need help to monitor it when the vast majority of the trade now is online? These faceless, nameless kinds of people? No?
Sex workers are a lot smarter than you think. There are bad date lists. Sex workers.
You mean like a registry kind of thing?
Yeah, they talk in networks.
Can I be clear about something? Are you concerned? Is your concern with this safety or keeping the business alive? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, if demand is cut, there's less business.
Right,
is that a concern of yours too?
Yes, because SWAP believes there's a difference between consensual sex transactions and sex trafficking, forced labor.
How about the issue that Amber raised about the cops themselves? Were you nodding in agreement?
Well, she has a good point. I mean, we have had a history of being harassed. I mean, in honesty, I've had those
in some cases.
I've had those experiences with the police. But today, in the Boston area, I know that my agency, My Life, My Choice, has done a great job at training them. I actually work right next door to human trafficking, and so we partner and educate them. But one thing that I do want to be clear with for myself, I do not want to be known as a sex worker. I am a survivor of the commercial sex industry. For me, sex worker implies that this is something that I volunteered to do, and it is not something that I volunteered to do. Someone, coerced me in, and the children that we serve are not sex workers. They are victims of the commercial sex industry.
And isn't she as a younger woman, who the system they described the other day would be protecting, right? It's not somebody who voluntarily chose to participate in this business or whatever. I mean, isn't that a fair statement?
I think what's happening here is like we all have good intentions. No one wants to see people coerced in sex, forced, taken off the streets, taken away from their
So
families.
what's the solution?
It's like
Amnesty International says decriminalize it.
Full decriminalization.
Should it be decriminalized?
It is. The Lancet recommends it. Numerous academic journals recommend it. What it does is that it brings sex workers and clients safely to report in the industry, to manage their own industry, to help monitor when something coerced has happened.
So it comes out in the open, more regulation. Do you buy it or no?
No, I don't buy that.
Why not?
You know why? Because anywhere there is an adult sex industry, there are always children. There are always children. You were just talking about an issue earlier about the fake ID. So children are always going to be in. When I was a minor, I got in all the clubs. Anything that adult was able to do in the sex industry, I was able to do. So that's my concern.
If I left you two alone, could you find common ground here? Could you find somewhere in the middle that addressed the concern about the business for those who voluntarily want to do it, at the same time protected people like you when you were younger? Is there common ground?
I don't know. I will say this. Let me just say this. I've met women who identify as, as sex workers. That's not who comes through our doors. And I have to say another thing about the women that I met with sex workers.
The coerced women come through your doors.
Right. And the sex workers and that movement, I have to be honest with you, those women that I met were highly educated women who came from upper middle class families who made a decision to...
Two totally different worlds is what
Right,
you're talking about.
right. And so who I'm dealing with, whether they're a child or an adult, and even moving up to the girls that I work with who are now 25, right, or what have you, I mean, the trauma is still the same. When I look at myself, I think of how I got in. But for most of the years, I was on my own, and tell you in a minute, right, after the guy was gone, that I'm doing my own thing. But what I don't hear them talk about is the trauma, right, because I have some stuff that I have to deal with because guys bought me. And I had regulars that also turned on me that I thought I could trust, that were my regular clients, that, on a bad night pulled out a sawed-off shotgun, or I had to run for my life. So I didn't find it safe with strangers, and I've had bad, ran into some bad situations with Johns that I knew.
I hope we have an opportunity to continue this, Audrey. It's good to see you again, Amber. It's good to meet you. Thank you so much for your time.